You are now listening to the Friends of Rugby podcast. Relax your anus. Balls. Thick thighs. Camille Shat. Where's his neck? Eddie Jones. You're fucked, mate. We're nice now.
2, 1, and we are recording. Frank.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
Fucking great.
We skipped a week.
Yeah, we did. Why did we skip a week?
Because Edmonton was in a once-in-a-lifetime event.
Oh, yeah.
The Stanley's
Cup
playoffs.
Final ever game.
It broke my heart.
Yeah, I was quite sad.
Last time they were in the Stanley Cup finals, I was living in New Zealand.
Yeah.
And I begged the guy whose house I was renovating to put it on TV because he was gloating about he had this satellite dish.
Ugh.
And he's like, oh, yeah, I can get every channel ever. So
This is back in the days of Sky, isn't it?
yeah.
So.
And he's like, I got this satellite dish. I can get every channel. So when the game was on, I was working at his house. And I told him, hey, I know you have all these channels. Can you just put this game on? It's my hometown.
Yeah.
Stanley Cup finals.
Did he do it?
Yeah, he actually got super excited about it.
Yeah.
And we ended up watching the game and drinking. And then my boss came and saw me on this guy's couch watching this game with him drinking. And he was like, what the fuck's going on? He's like, it's okay. It's okay. It's the Stanley Cup Canadian ice hockey. He was like this guy was like super pumped to watch it too. So
yeah.
I got pretty lucky. And then the Oilers lost.
Yeah.
So, but it's good to have the playoffs done because it's every second day.
Yeah, it takes over your life, doesn't it?
It takes over your life.
Sports here, like baseball, basketball, hockey. Actually, NFL is weirdly not like that.
No.
But they just play all the fucking time.
It's a money.
It's definitely a money thing.
It's a quantity over quality things because there's like 86, 85, 83 games in an NHL season.
Yeah, and that's a fast, hard, physical game. Like, I'm surprised there's not more. It's not as attritional as rugby.
Yeah, they're skating really I know this is a rugby podcast, but
we can cut it out, I think.
But they're skating so fast and they're hitting each other all the time, but they're playing like every second day for like fucking
yeah. They only do like 2 or 3 minute shifts so they get a breather, but
and they're wearing a ton of pads too.
That's true. I am always impressed by hockey players though. That is a
lot of them are like
sport.
they're missing teeth. All of them are missing teeth.
Yeah.
They're always fucking injured.
Yeah.
So they
play on injuries a lot, don't they?
Yeah. So it's a pretty rough and tough sport. But let's talk about another rough and tough
The reason
sport.
we said it is because we didn't do anything last week, and it's because there was kind of a significant sporting event on. So rugby though.
Rugby, another tough sport.
Mm-hmm.
And then what did we miss here?
We missed the URC final. And I think first I should say I'm going to keep writing Glasgow off and call this a fluke.
Who called this game?
Neither of us.
Yes, I did.
Did you?
Yes, I went with Glasgow for the
I
win.
wish I kept my.
And you're like, really? And then you doubled down on your hate, on your Glasgow hate. And I was like, no, I'm done.
At that point.
They proved us wrong.
I don't hate them. I just doubt them. I think they're a great, scrappy gang of lads. You know.
This is probably Glasgow winning the championship is probably one of the hardest URC or like since the Celtic League has been a thing. It's got to be one of the hardest routes for a team to go and win a championship.
Since the South Africans joined, yeah.
Because they had to go do a number on...
Bulls at home is hard enough.
They went to Stormers at home.
Yeah.
Then they went to Munster at home.
Yeah.
Then they went to Bulls at home.
Yeah.
And still won.
I think Munster are the weak link there. I think they flattered to deceive in the last few games of the season. Because when they played Ospreys, they won comfortably. But they didn't look like they were going to... They didn't have any X factor to them. When
you watch those 3 games, when you watch the games, Glasgow stepped up another level.
They did, yeah. I'm not trying to take away
and I don't
them.
think anyone was... I think a lot of people... I think everyone underestimated them. I think everyone did what the Friends of Rugby podcast did and really kind of wrote them off.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Because when they beat Munster, everyone's like, well, the Bulls are going to be the champions.
Yeah. Yeah, I did.
And that was it. That was... they were just...
People don't win in the regular season that often in South Africa, though. You know that travel and that altitude, that's a significant disadvantage for a team.
And also, everyone was like how everyone thought the Bulls were going to win and their strengths, like Glasgow conquered.
Yeah.
Like Glasgow's forward pack, like stepped up huge.
And it wasn't even in the set piece that much. I thought it was just more in the open. You know, their forwards were just monstrous, weren't they? It was more the energy than the physicality. Like every single player hit rucks hard, got straight up after tackles, got straight back in the defensive line. Their rush defense, like they just got straight up in people's faces. There wasn't a second where they stopped playing hard. That's what won it for him.
What happened to the altitude? The altitude, man.
I was watching a thing with Duncan Weir, and he was on about how good their conditioning is. Like they're literally just really, really fit, right? And that they knew they had to be really, really fit. You know, if there's going to be altitude or whatever, you have to have a lot better conditioning to win a game. They knew what they were doing, basically. It wasn't a fluke.
And the Bulls just couldn't keep Glasgow away. Like Glasgow just consistently stayed in the game.
I thought the Bulls played a bit arrogantly. I thought they started a bit slow and they looked to be using straight up the middle runners a lot, and they thought we'll just go through the middle. And I think the strange thing was it wasn't working all that well for them. And they didn't change tactics, right? That whole game felt a little bit like the Bulls thought they were going to win right up until the end, almost. And they thought all it's going to take is the dam breaking and we'll walk through them. And it never happened, and they didn't change their tactics, you know?
I like a lot of the comments online, too, was how Willie LaRue wasn't playing. Like, oh, we would have had Willie LaRue. It would have been a completely different game.
Yeah. Excuse me for saying, but that's such a South African attitude. It's just like, oh, yeah, when we get our Springboks back, and it's like, play your best team then.
But this game had me on the edge of my seat. Like, this was probably one of the best rugby games I've seen in a long time. I know I say that a lot.
Yeah, you say that every week.
But this game,
they just keep getting better. Apparently,
it was like a thrill. It was just it was just back and forth, and like
the energy was immense, wasn't it?
Because I didn't believe that Glasgow would win the game.
Yeah,
and they just stayed in. And I was like, man, they could do this, and they started making a comeback, and I was just like, oh my god, and they got the lead, and the Bulls discipline was starting to falter, and I was like, man, Glasgow. It was kind of. It was very. Actually, it was kind of a lot like the Munster Glasgow game. Like Glasgow just kind of just would not die.
Away. Yeah,
they were just punching him in the face, and they're like, no, we're still alive. We're still alive.
Yeah, you're happy about it though, eh?
Like Glasgow even beat them in the scrum.
Yeah, not every scrum, but they looked overall dominant.
They had They had the better scrum that day.
Yeah.
Just everything was clicking for them.
Yeah. But you happy about that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is I think in the last 5 years, this is like the fifth different team or something like that. Fourth different team.
Yeah.
Because he had
Benetton, Stormers, Munster, Glasgow is the last four, right?
And then who won it before that? Leinster?
Yeah, I think so.
It had to be in Leinster.
Yeah, I think so.
So he had 5 years, 5 different teams.
Yeah, from different countries as well. 4 different countries. That's good.
So that's asking about a healthy league.
I think so.
And I think it's for the narrative around the URC, for Glasgow to win this too. I think that's beneficial for the URC as a whole.
Yeah.
To see because I think everyone, even you and I, all year was just like, this is going to be a South African Ireland season.
Yeah.
And it was.
It was, but
it didn't.
Glasgow were never not up there, mind. You know, they were never not up there. Surprisingly, like I said, I keep writing them off. I might stop one day, but it's not today. You know,
you have to stop writing them off now. They're the champions.
No, not going to do that.
They're the best team in the URC.
I'm going to double down, and as soon as we hit the start next season, I'm going to say no. They can't. They're going to be an emotional hangover from that. They're not going to be able to keep it up.
They're going to come back and be dominant.
Yeah, imagine a Glasgow dynasty. 10 years of Glasgow dominance.
Oh, that would be
cool. I'll still be writing them off.
Well, also, if do you have anything else to say about this? Because I just wanted to brush over the URC.
No, not really. Great game. Really happy Glasgow won. As much as I take the piss, I thought it was awesome. Really happy to see that the allure, the kind of, they're playing in South Africa at altitude almost has a magic to it. An unbreakable curse, even. I'm glad that's not a thing. I mean, it is a thing, but people know how to work around it, right? So I'm happy that it's not going to ruin the league because people just can't win in South Africa. We definitely can.
I'm gonna throw a curveball topic here to talk about.
Mm.
Don't worry, it's gonna be a topic you're gonna really want to talk about.
Yeah. Can
Are you
already
scared?
see in your eye. No, I can see the little mischievous glint in your eyes. You're going to say something. Whales are shit. Something.
I want to talk about it is something about whales. I want to talk about Wales' new master plan.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
You'll have to tell me. Oh, the document.
yeah. Come on, man.
The magic scroll.
Don't tell me you didn't fucking.
No, I read it. Yeah, the magic scroll. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
What were your thoughts on that?
It was generic. It promised a lot of things without offering a route. But
Yes.
I think that was always the point of it. Like I told you the other day, this is always about money, right?
Mhm.
They made all the right noises in that document. You know, we want to retain male players who are leaving the sport for football, and there's scope to bring more women into the game, which is very doable. All these things make perfect sense, right? How do we get kids interested? All these make sense. These are good ideas. They're obvious ideas, but they're the right ideas. There's not a lot of substance in terms of how it's done, but they've explicitly said that's not going to happen till October anyway. So,
Because when you read the document,
yeah,
it had like their goals,
yeah,
right? And then it goes over to another section,
yeah.
but it was just more goals.
Yeah.
And you're expecting it to be, this is what we want to do,
Yeah.
and this is how we're going to get it done.
Yeah.
But it wasn't. It was like, this is our goal,
Yeah.
and then right beside it was,
Here's another goal.
and here's another goal. So it was just a
Yeah.
lot of goal setting.
Yeah, but
And-
that's what I'm saying. Like I read all the stuff online about people complaining about just what you're saying. Yes, but that was the point of that document. It's about setting goals, and it would be good if next to it was like, here's how we're going to do that. But like I said, they're not. They said Abby Tierney said the CEO or whatever she is of Welsh Rugby. That'll happen in October when they've done the report. I found it more interesting listening to Scrum 5, the Welsh Rugby podcast on the BBC, where they interviewed her. And what they're saying is it's a financial situation. Obviously everyone knew it was about money, but unless they've actually done the kind of the accounting for it, nothing will change, and they're going to change that in October. So, long story short, I don't think anything's changed in Welsh Rugby. We're going to have about 2 or 3 really shit years, and then we'll get better.
Yeah, because they were. What was I going to say here? With the goal setting that they came up with,
Yeah.
like they are going to have. I think in October they're going to start releasing actual strategies of what they're going to do.
Yeah, around the finances, right?
And I was kind of like, why? What's with the? I was kind of him and hawing why they would split that up. Like, why don't you just get all like instead of having this media backlash? Like, okay, yeah, you said you're going to do a bunch of stuff, but what are you going to do about it?
Yeah.
Like, why didn't you just do that all at the same time?
I'm not going to give you a funny answer. I'm going to give you a serious, boring answer, right? Because Wales have gone through a really shit time, and we had allegations of sexual assault, abuse, misogyny. I don't know if those are the right words to describe it even, but you know what I mean? Like there was some horrific things going on in the WRU. So we've replaced our leadership. They can't sit there and do nothing for a year, right? They can't come on board and say nothing to the public. They have to release something. That's what they're doing. They're saying, this is our plan. Bear with us while we figure it out. To me, it's as simple as that, you know?
What do you think are some kind of strategies they might do? What are some things you think you might see?
Yeah, so I was talking to you about this the other day, right? So there's 2 things which I think... Well, first thing to say is they are in a lot of debt, right? COVID destroyed Welsh Rugby financially. Like the WRU is still in, like, I think they said it was like 15 million or 30 million or something, like a lot of fucking money. Long story short, she was talking about whether we keep 4 regions in Wales, and a lot of people have been speculating the best thing for Wales to do is to go down to 3. And she alluded to, rather than go down to 3 or 2 regions, you keep 4, but you just give 1 region or 2 regions more money than the others. And that makes sense to me.
And that's what like Ireland do.
Is what they historically did.
Yeah.
Because Connacht used to be a development region, right? Yeah. And I think that's the way to do it. Because like, at the end of the day, you can't just shut down a region. These are private businesses. They're not owned by the WRU. You can't just go to the Dragons and be like, you're closed now. It's like, no, it's a privately owned business. You can't just tell them to do that. But what you can do is take their money away, right? And say you're a development region. If one of your players is good, he'll probably move to Cardiff or Swansea eventually.
What do you think about that idea?
I think I don't love it, but it's the best, most practical solution.
I do too. I kind of really like it.
Yeah,
Because you've seen it work.
Yeah,
And since like Connacht has been like the historic, like especially when we talk about Connacht, them being a historically like development side, they have really built their club up through that being a development side, and like they're becoming more and more and more successful.
They are. They like to wear the underdog label a bit better. You know, there's less expectation, which means they've got more freedom to play. So I think you could apply that. You know, who would be those regions that would become like development regions? I think it would be Scarlets and Dragons because they're smaller populations than Cardiff and Swansea. They get less attendance, etc., etc. Right? And like I don't love it because it's cruel. What I would love is we had enough money to fund our regions properly.
And I think it takes pressure off of the Scarlets and the Dragons too.
It does,
because you know what to expect from them.
Yeah,
these are your development teams.
Yeah,
they're still pro.
Yeah,
right. But anything they achieve is like above and beyond. Yeah, and you're expecting that, right?
Yeah.
And then when it turns to like, so it puts less pressure on them, puts more pressure on Cardiff and Ospreys,
which they should be able to handle, right?
Yeah, because they should be able to like get players, purchase players from overseas to help, you know, build up the team. So those, it kind of builds up that. So now you're expecting Ospreys and like Cardiff to be more competitive. Yeah. Right, and being able to keep the players and getting the best players just on two teams too is. I think if they do this, if they do the strategy how we think they're gonna do it, I think it'll pay dividends.
Totally. Wales aren't a million miles away from being not good, but winning games, right? Because I watched Cardiff's season.
Oh, I disagree with you on that. I don't think they're a million miles away from being World Cup champions. Look what they have accomplished. To say that Wales are like far away from being World Cup champions, I think is kind of naive, especially with how much they punch above their weight.
Yeah, maybe, but
like this is a team that can win Grand Slams years after years. This is a team that's gone to the semifinals, right? This is a team that's almost beaten the other teams in those semifinals they got to in the World Cups. Yeah. Right? Like they are, besides beating the All Blacks, which they haven't humped, which they eventually will do. Like sky's the limit for them.
Yeah, maybe one day. But what I'm saying is our expectation needs to be let's win some games before we focus on being world champions, right? Like Cardiff, the amount of losing bonus points they had in the URC this season was like it became a joke, you know? It's like, how can we not win that many games by like so few points? It's ridiculous.
I think also too, the whole initiative, like making like having the goals, and if Wales actually start like doing stuff on the goals, it's gonna change the morale. Not the morality. What's the word I'm looking for? Just the whole aura around the whole union. It'll just make it a more positive place to be.
Yeah.
Like players will feel better and more confident about being there. Yeah. And getting players back will be huge. If they can start pulling Welsh players back into the URC, playing for these clubs, taking them away from like the Prem and the top 14, like that's going to be huge.
It will be huge. Yeah, like, imagine Dav Jenkins coming back, Joe Hawke, half of the Exeter team coming home. That would be good.
Yeah, Exeter team just comes back. Plays like a Cardiff or Scarlet. I mean, Ospreys. Yeah. Like that would be huge.
Yeah, I'd love it. I would love it.
Nah, that would be huge.
Yeah, all I'm saying is it's not going to happen overnight. I say there's going to be... I think next season in the URC, I think Cardiff and Ospreys will win a few more games. I can't see Scarlets changing much right now. I can't see Dragons changing much right now. Dragons always frustrate me because their team on paper isn't a bad team. You know, they've got like Aaron Wainwright, they've got Rio Dyer, they've got some class players. They just can't seem to fucking win.
I wonder if like they should get those guys out.
I think Falatau played in the Dragons and Dan Lydiate played in the Dragons for a worryingly long time while Wales were winning international games, right? They'd come up to play for Wales, win a Grand Slam, but okay, back in your box now, back to Dragons.
I think it's just better for the aura, like have those players on winning teams.
It definitely is,
and winning games. It's just better for the confidence.
I think so.
Let's talk about like lack of confidence. We're gonna this podcast is gonna go rogue here. Okay. Confidence, Leinster season. It's got to be the saddest season. Did you know that when they went down and played the Bulls, there was only one player on that team that had played in South Africa that year?
It's hard not to say arrogant and insulting, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's
is
hard not
bit.
to. Like, I don't want to be... I know I shit on Leinster a lot, but it's hard to say anything but a negative thing about them there.
Someone mentioned something, I can't remember where it was, but they were talking about Leinster's. They're like one of the best teams in Europe,
Yeah.
hands down. But the problem is that they play a lot of lower competition, a lot. And when they finally play someone that's on their level,
Yeah.
they fucking get kind of shell shocked from it. Like they're not used to playing someone on their level.
But that's like, it's like blaming the other teams for their failures.
No, it's not
They
blaming
have
the other
the
teams.
Ireland national side. Every player in that team, bar one on some days, on a lot of days, has played in World Rugby Cup games.
That's true, but during the year you can get like a little bit.
You don't think there's
soft.
bad teams in the Gallagher Prem or the French Pro Did?
Oh, 100%.
You know what I mean?
But what's happening is that these players, like when they go up, like a lot of time Leinster played like good teams during the regular season.
Yeah.
They're putting out a B squad,
Oh, so don't do that.
so they're not having these guys in these attritional games.
So don't do that.
Yes,
that's their choice,
Oh,
right?
100%.
It's
That's
their
what I'm
choice,
trying
you
to get at, right? Like
Yeah.
it's just a bad. Like I don't know. I don't like. I think Leinster's like protecting their players
But
and
why-
shit is caught up with them, and I
Yeah.
think the whole world is starting to see that. Like even I am like starting like.
The strategy's weird though, because they don't just replace one or two players. It's like they replace the whole team, you know? Just 3 or 4 is fine, you know? Do you want to blood some youngsters? Give so and so, give Crawley or Frawley or Jawley a start at 10 instead of Byrne, right?
Yeah,
Just do something like that, you know?
and I like the idea that they are giving a lot of their youngians like a lot because they just
they
like,
don't
oh, we're
do
going to
it-
South Africa, we'll just send all our kids.
But they
to
don't.
The
They
Bulls.
don't do it. They don't ease them in, do they? It's like they've got the fine
No, they
china
send them-
set for the nice guests, which is Leinster's A team, and the rest of the time it's like, oh, if we're going out there, I just use the shit plates, just use the shit cutlery.
Yeah, the fucking plastic.
Yeah, it's like
plates.
you could have a bit of both, you know? It's not going to kill you to have a bit of both. In fact, that's exactly what they need to do, right? If you send your quote-unquote B
100%.
team down to South Africa, send 4 or 5 of your starters so you've got the experience, so you still win the game, and you don't lose morale, and your youngsters don't feel like they've let the whole of Ireland down, you know?
Yeah, that's true because like you send them as the representatives and then they get hammered.
Yeah.
and they come back. It's
Leinster have got far too many resources and quality players to be making that excuse for me, you know?
it's kind of because when you the huge swings they do in their teams
Yeah.
is not like the most successful teams you look at are teams that keep a core together.
Yeah.
and that play together.
And rotate effectively, right? They just
Yeah.
don't rotate effectively.
And you don't have to rotate the whole team.
That's what exactly
like,
what I'm
these
saying.
successful teams rotate like 2-3 players
yeah,
in
exactly.
a game,
Yeah.
right? And start blending them in and mixing them in, and they're making these 2 or 3 or 4 changes like every other game, and and it's progressive, right?
Yeah.
Just throwing these guys, like throwing the B team in,
To the
sending
literal
all
Lions.
sending all your all stars to go like fucking sit on the couch and eat pizza or whatever the fuck they do, like chilling out
Yeah.
and stuff. Like it's just not effective. Like if you look at the
Obviously.
best teams, like they are effective at like making the changes when necessary.
Yeah. The whole phrase B team, C team is insulting to the game as well. It's like, we don't respect you enough, we're going to send out B teams. Like, no, you're still Leinster Rugby. You're still a team everyone respects regardless who you put on the field, right? You don't respect yourself enough to put out a good team to beat the Lions in South Africa. That's your problem. Don't blame it on weak opposition because you lost those games, right?
This is unique. This kind of whole like sending out A team, B team is also super unique to rugby.
You think so?
Yeah, especially in all the sports we have in North America here.
Yeah.
Like you're watching the best play pretty much every week.
Yeah.
Right? But it's the physicality of rugby, the high injury rate in rugby. You have to have like such a huge squad. Because you guys got players falling off the radar all over the place from injuries. And
Yeah.
stuff. And injuries is like there's a ton, like compared to like other sports, there's a fucking
It's
ton of
attritional,
injuries.
isn't it? I would say it's not about that though. I think it's because there's multiple competitions in the same season, right? So in football, like Premier League football, they do that. There's competitions where they will send their development squad. It's for different reasons, but it's because there's multiple competitions in the thing. But Leinster have the resources to win the Champions Cup and the URC, right? And to be honest, comfortably in the case of the URC, they could have won that, I thought. So yeah, I'm kind of like, I get a bit angry about it because when people say, oh, it's like you said, I don't think you mean it in the same way as other people, but the quality of the teams at the bottom of that league are the reason Leinster couldn't win either. It's like, no bullshit. Those guys play for Ireland as well, regularly, right? That's not a reason. Munster could get further than you. Like, that's not a reason, you know? So, yeah.
I don't know, because when you're playing in when you've been away from international for a while and you're playing in a team, because remember there's a lot of internationals on that team,
Yeah.
but they're not all internationals, right?
Yeah.
So
I know, you go through their starting 15, they basically are, maybe bar 2. You could name them right now. It's the front row. It's the Irish front row, right? Maybe not having Tyke Byrne, but you could easily have, what's he called? Luke McGrath? No. Oh,
he's been in the squad.
Yeah.
I think all their starters have been in the squad.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm
At
saying,
one point in
right?
time.
Yeah.
Right? Bar like 2 or 3. You're right. Right. Okay, I'll give you that.
You made me Leinster hate again. That's what you're doing, wasn't it? You just
Everyone Leinster hates. Whatever. Carter's going to be the new Leinster.
All right, I'd be happy with that.
Yeah.
I'd be happy to.
And then
be
you'll
the
be
team.
like, all Cardiff start doing all the shit that Leinster's doing.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden, they'll be totally cool with you.
Yeah.
You'd be like, oh, they're so smart to like, rest their players and send another team. You'll be like, just fucking just.
The reason Cardiff aren't doing well this season because the Dragons. Actually, we need better quality opposition.
Yeah, you'll just flip the script like everything.
I would love that. I would love it. But you know though, it's like you look at Leinster, right, and they've got Jack Nienaber in charge, and Leo Cullen, who historically, and they've got RG Snyman coming in. They've got one of the Barretts coming in. Like they've got to be thinking, what the fuck are we doing wrong? It couldn't have more advantages.
URC is a very competitive league.
That's a good thing, though.
Yeah,
that's a good
It's
thing.
a very good league, and like for Leinster to be as good as they are, it just shows how competitive, how much quality is in the URC, that you can have pretty much an international side, and can still lose. If you take your foot off the gas pedal a little bit, you could lose in the URC. And
I think that's my problem with them. If they made some very obvious decisions the right way, they would win comfortably in some cases.
And
right?
we're just assuming. We're still assuming. We're still assuming that the reason why Leinster lost is because of their wild changes. We're still assuming they lost because, the guys didn't play in South Africa enough and weren't used to it. Like, we're making all assumptions, right? Really, at the end of the day, they lost because they lost.
If you don't win, you lose, right? Yeah.
If you don't win, you lose.
First, you're last.
Right? Because everything we're making is assumptions, right? Shoulda, coulda, wouldas, all sorts of shit. Like, it's just that the competition in the URC is fucking tight. At the top, the best teams are evidently can beat each other.
They can, but if you look at the resources available to Glasgow compared to Leinster, if they played each other,
with those fucking resource difference, right? They could they won it. Yeah, they can beat them.
Yeah, they can.
Right? Yeah. It's anyone's game when the game is on the line.
Yeah.
Right. Just shows how competitive the league is.
That sounds sensible. I have to agree with you. I don't want to, but yeah, it sounds sensible. Fuck off, Steve.
Let's talk about Japan, England.
All right.
Because this was a story-driven game.
It was. There were some narratives which turned out to be nonsense in the end. What did you think of? Were you expecting that?
Well, when the game started, I got up at 1 o'clock in the morning to watch this. Like, oh, yeah, here we go. And so the game starts, and Japan come out at like 1,000,000 miles an hour, and England were fucking shell shocked.
Yeah,
like they looked spooked. And you're just like, holy fuck, we are in for a game. I was fucking like all about like this game. I was like, this is gonna be an amazing game. Yeah, this is gonna be great because like England just like they already looked like in the first 3 minutes, England looked tired and heavy.
Yeah,
and Japan looked crisp.
Knees weak, spaghetti.
Then England got their hands finally on the ball and basically just walked right through Japan.
I said this to you the other day. You know that fight in Game of Thrones between the Mountain and Oberyn Martell?
Yeah, it was exactly like that.
Japan are dancing around him, and eventually England just gets its big meaty claw in Japan and squeezes its head.
Yeah, it's like that's exactly what happened. They had Japan had no answer for England's power game. Yeah, like literally no answer. And
as long as England had the ball, they weren't going to lose.
At halftime, I went back to bed.
Yeah.
And afterwards, I was like, man, Japan have really fucking like fallen down. Like they're worse. They're worse. But then I was looking at like started figuring out like how Eddie Jones picked his team.
He picked like interns and university students.
Yeah,
and
he picked like a super young
badminton.
team. The fullback has never played a professional game. He was from university.
Yeah.
And I was like, like he is really like sold on like starting from scratch.
Yeah.
Like he has this like
They're starting from scratch though, and they're picking experienced rookies, you know, who've played a bit of. It's crazy.
But it's just it's like the guy who he's like Eddie Jones is like those like fucking like those like fitness guru grifters. They have like a certain way that they think like everyone should like work out or eat or take a supplement.
Yeah.
And they're like, this is the way to work.
And it's pseudoscience.
And they just continuously double down on it, no matter about how much research or anything tells them, hey, this is not the best way. Like, no, this is like, no, keto diet is the best diet. It's the only diet you should do, and blah, blah. And like research is like, well, actually, you should have this, and this, and this. Like, no. And they just like 10 years down the line, they're still talking about like shit that's like 10 years old.
Totally.
And, like, science is completely like debuffed and stuff.
He's so desperate to be on the periphery and have some magical groundbreaking innovation in rugby that he's letting down countries. He's let down Australian rugby. He's let down Japanese rugby, right?
Yeah, because he's just like, why not pick the best players?
Yeah.
And then slowly start like this. Again, this is like a theme. Like he is the exact opposite of like Andy Farrell and Razzie Rasmus. Like and Razzie. Like he's just obsessed with like having this like start from scratch team. No, I'm gonna turn these kids into an international powerhouse, even though like their balls dropped last week.
Because he's the only ego in the room, right? Like if you stand up to him, I think this is why he never picked Danny Cipriani in England as well. It's like you're not allowed to have an opinion that he doesn't share. He has to be the guy who has all the knowledge and has all these secret plans that you don't need to know about yet, keeps everyone in the dark, unveils his master plan, and plays a fucking university student at fullback against England.
Imagine if he coached Scotland. Like Finn Russell would never, and Stuart Hogg would never be on the team.
No, they wouldn't be close.
Yeah. And then Scotland would be ranked like
you could say that about so many
30th
teams, though.
in the world.
Do you know what I mean? You could say that about so many teams like that. As much as I want to like Eddie Jones and the drama he brings to rugby, he is annoying me now because he let Australian rugby down big time, right? He put a nail in their coffin.
He destroyed people's like fucking careers.
He did, exactly. And if he does that in Japan as well, a country where rugby is blossoming, pun intended, and could be one of the future tier 1 nations sort of thing, that's a real kick in the teeth for world rugby, you know?
Because I bet you he took a look at the best. He probably took a look at the best players in Japan. And he's like, these aren't good enough, mate.
Yeah.
They're good, but they're not good enough, right? So then he like picks these fucking
What's your
kids
criteria,
that he
Eddie?
thinks he can turn into like international stars. Like,
He
these
wants
are the
to
ones I want
mold
to
them.
develop. These are like you could have picked those good players.
Yeah.
You could have picked in, and then you could have started bringing in some kids slowly. Yeah, you're still not going to win games, but at least you're going to be way more competitive in those games. Like, yeah, the best players you have may not beat England, but they're not going to get fucking trounced like 50 something to like 10.
Yeah.
You know, the game will be more competitive, right?
Yeah.
And it's just a better way it just looks better overall instead of just getting hammered. Like he'd rather have those young kids just get fucking, destroyed on the field than have competitive games and actually like, weave in the younger talent.
Do you remember the Brighton Miracle in, was it 2015?
Mm-hmm.
Everyone was so impressed with Eddie Jones then, rightfully so. But it wasn't the team he picked, it was how he made them play. He was one of the earlier guys. I mean, everyone's always known that fitness is important in rugby, right? But he knows, in terms of Japanese culture, if you get someone to focus on something, they will be magnificent at it. They devote themselves to doing that thing. He's like, we're just going to be the fittest team out there. And they were, right? They absolutely were. And it's like, he's decided this time his new revolutionary thing is going to be molding infants to be his genetic super soldiers or whatever. And it's like, that's never going to work ever. Like, you need the best players you've got available to you. Then you can coach them in whatever way you want.
We don't know if it's not going to work ever because we don't have long-term studies because he leaves before he finishes anything.
And let's be honest as well, like, we don't know a lot about Japanese rugby. Maybe that kid at fullback is genuinely the best player he's got. I don't know, right? But
even did you see did you watch his little walk and talk with Jim Hamilton?
I did, yeah.
He's kind of got the way he's talking. He's kind of got one foot out the door already.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
he's already thinking about retirement. He's got one foot out the door.
Yeah.
Like I was like, man, is his heart fully in this? Because
Yeah.
he's talking, like literally said, like he like has one foot out the door already.
Do you know what's
like
funny
he's
about
coming to the end.
Yeah.
I'm coming to the end, mate. And
Yeah.
like, all this shit, and I was like, man, he's like kind of like just doing this for like he's just making like a few bucks, and then he's gonna go off and like retire on a beach somewhere. Like, is his heart in it? Like, is this the best thing for like Japan rugby? Because they're probably paying him a ton of money.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, of course they are. Yeah. I think even in that interview when they were walking, his body language was weird. He was like not really looking at Jim Hamilton. He's like a few steps ahead of him. You know what I mean? Just like he's fucking with him, but he's really kind of disengaged at the same time. It was very Eddie Jones.
Those walk and talks are always awkward anyways. They're kind of weird.
Yeah, I always thought like if I do an interview like that, like how do you always look at another person while walking and not trip over a rock, you know?
it's just a weird.
Yeah.
I always watch them.
Oh yeah.
I always watch them. I like them, but it's just like it is kind of an odd concept.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah,
Just
but-
sit down. No one cares.
All the power to Jim Hamilton. Have you ever seen? Sorry, sideline. Have you ever seen Jim Hamilton's like kind of rugby travel show?
No, I don't think so.
Oh my god, you got to watch it. It's like he comes. He it's like this show where he travels for rugby, and yeah, it's supposed to be. It's kind of like a travel show, but. One, he goes to Hong Kong, he goes to Taiwan or something like that, and he goes to he goes to Hong Kong, he goes to Singapore, he goes to like South Africa,
Yeah.
and they're trying to make him like this funny like
the
travel
Anthony
guy.
Bourdain of rugby.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's like a comedy style. Like they're trying
Yeah.
to make him like what's the show where the guy brings his dad around and travels? Have you ever seen that one?
I have, yeah, the English guy. Yeah.
But like Jim Hamilton comes off as a fucking like asshole.
And he's like hungover half the time.
Yeah, and he's just like he like walks into this like Singaporean like hotel, and he's just like, I need a bed. Do you have like I'm like okay or no? It was in Singapore. The like woman speaks English, and he's
Yeah.
like, do you have like he just comes off as a fucking prick.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this isn't even funny. This is just cringe. Like
Yeah.
this is not like, and they're trying to make it funny.
Yeah.
like he's like this bumbling idiot traveling around, but he just comes off offensive and just like an asshole.
Sounds like slightly racist.
You gotta watch. You'll know exactly what I'm talking
yeah,
about.
I can already see it.
Wales, South Africa.
Oh my god. I didn't watch it live. I watched some extended highlights, so I didn't even watch like the full game because I thought we're just gonna get battered. And we did get battered. A lot of people are saying like, oh, we performed better than expected. Maybe.
It was they had the whole like first half make you believe a little bit
Yeah. But we still got battered.
because I took two cards in that first half
Yeah.
and they still stayed in the game.
Oh, that's the start to that game was catastrophic as well. It was like everything that could have gone wrong went wrong for Wales, and it's like this is not the thing. We do feel unlucky sometimes as well as shit, you know. I think the context for it though is that that really is not close to a Wales starting squad either. You know, like so. I give them a bit of credit because they basically faced, I'd say, like a 90% starting South African team against our maybe 20% South Wales starting team. So we're always going to lose that. There are some green shoots. Like I think Dewi Lake, as long as he can stay uninjured, is class. We've got a real problem with injuries, though. I don't think people are talking about that enough. It's not just that there's unavailable players. Like I think we've got one good tight head left right now to go Australia. And losing Jack Morgan, that guy can't catch a break, and he's supposed to be carrying the future of Wales on his shoulders. He can't even fucking stay fit. Like so,
Gatlin chose a new captain, right?
I think it was Dewi Lake was the captain, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's
it?
captain before. Yeah.
I thought it was, but in the Six Nations, it was,
No, he was kind of Well, in the Six Nations, it was Dav Jenkins.
Yeah.
And then in the World Cup, I think it was Jack Morgan / Dewi Lake.
Mhm.
So he's been... And Dewi Lake captained the Wales under-20s when we beat the All Blacks. So he knows what he's doing.
Jack Morgan like hates international rugby.
I guess so.
He just
Yeah.
fucking always
I
gets
guess so,
injured.
yeah. He'll have one stormer and then, yeah. But he's so young, right? Like, it's another thing. I think I was reading some statistic, like our average age is 25 or something like that. It's crazy young. And we've got, like, Eben Etzebeth has more caps than our entire pack or something like that.
Yeah.
So what did people think was going to happen? This was for money, right? This was for money. It was a run out. We got some experience. We lost. We got the shit kicked out of us. Whatever. That's as much.
Yeah, I don't think there
was
was too much to take from this game.
exactly. Yeah.
I know, like South Africa's like, oh, we didn't play good enough.
Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah.
hey guys, come on, just go
Yeah.
relax.
I mean, that's good for them though. Have some standards, right? You're the world champions. I've got no problem with that. You know, if you think you didn't play well, good. But I've got not much takeaway from it, really. You know,
Yeah.
it was a money outing where we had half a team.
I want to talk about these internationals next week,
All right.
but one last time because we're good on time here. One last thing I want to mention here is Leicester Tigers. Big signing.
Michael Cheika.
Michael Cheika is
Yeah.
going to be the new head coach at Leicester Tigers.
I like that.
He's in the system. He's in the English system.
He is. He's like the kind of spiritual continuation of Martin Johnson. You know, hard-nosed bastard, and that's exactly what Leicester like. Leicester like.
I think I used to not rate Michael Cheika very high,
Yeah.
but ever since he left Australia, the things he did with
Argentina.
Argentina and stuff,
Yeah.
like he's got some coaching.
Yeah.
He's got some coaching sparkle.
I really rate him. I just think he's kind of a dickhead sometimes. But maybe that's part of his charm. Maybe that's why you like him.
I'm guessing too. A lot of players from the Wallabies actually really liked him too.
Yeah.
From what I read about him, and a lot of players in Argentina really liked him too.
It sounds like he's always got his players, like he's like a fucking mama bear, right? You don't come for his team. He'll stand in front of the press and just, say some horrible things because he doesn't want his team to get affected, right?
Do you know what I think is the end game here?
He's going to coach England.
He's going to coach England.
Oh my God. I think Steve Borthwick actually is turning a corner, but that would be
I don't
cool.
think he's like, I think we were like, he was, remember, like we all thought he was going to build from the World Cup.
Yeah.
And then he completely did not.
You don't think so?
No.
I think he is.
I really thought he was turning the team into some kind of monster. And they had a lot of highs and lows in that Six Nations.
Yeah.
Right? Like they beat England. I mean, they beat Ireland.
Yeah.
And
no one else did.
they barely beat Wales.
Yeah,
They beat Argentina. Did they beat Argentina? Yeah.
Argentina in the Six Nations.
No, I mean Italy.
Yeah.
They barely
They made a meal of it. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like they had a lot of like fucking like up and down performances here and there. I thought they might even win the Six Nations. I don't know. He just hasn't like reached that level of what I thought he was going to reach. I think he's kind of underperformed.
The narrative was that they were really focused on defense, right? And you could see that the defense was really good, even in the games that they made hard work of. And then there was some interview with one of their players where someone had criticized Borthwick saying, like, you don't focus on attack enough. You've got Welsh legend Emmanuel Feo-Barbosa on the wing. Fucking use him, right? Mm-hmm. And then one of the players was saying, all we've done this week is practice attacking, right? Because we heard your criticism. Steve heard your criticism, and that's what we wanted to do. Obviously, I'm paraphrasing. And when they came out against Ireland, they attacked, right? Ollie Lawrence, Ben Earl were tearing it up. And I think that for me was a turn of a corner. And then I'm really excited. Yeah, they destroyed Japan. But I actually thought, as much as you had said, they're really physical, I thought when Marcus Smith had the ball, he looked unreal. There were some players on there who showed some real attacking threat. If they can beat New Zealand in New Zealand, Steve Borthwick's going to be the England coach for another 4 years.
Yeah, if they do take both games, he'll be the coach.
He's not going anywhere.
No, he won't be going.
They like that in England, I think. They like security and stability if it's going well,
But I think if he has a shitty tour and he has a so-so Six Nations,
yeah,
and if Cheika like really like does it
at
in Leicester and turns them around,
yeah,
they're gonna that'll be like the second coach they take from Leicester Tigers, because Borthwick was Leicester, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, and I think they'll bring him in.
Yeah,
I think this
that.
whole end game, him going into Leicester, I think the whole end game is him to like is gunning for the England job.
Do you think he wants that long term?
Oh, I think so. He's an international coach.
He's an ambitious man as
He's
well.
a test coach.
He is, isn't he?
Like going to club level, like because he was where was he before? He was
like at club level.
Yeah, wasn't he at like Glasgow?
Don't think so.
Michael Cheika was.
No, he coached Super Rugby. I can't remember which Australian team.
Let's like Google him up, because he did coach. I think he coached in the URC.
I don't think he did, but I could be wrong. But I'll have a look now. But what you're saying is his ambition, not England's ambition, is to coach England.
I think English rugby have him kind of on the radar too.
Do you think so?
Yeah, I bet you.
Yeah. He was at Leinster from 2005 to 2010.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. And then he went to Stade Francais a couple of years, did Waratahs for a couple of years before he was Australia. And wow, he was at Australia from 2014 to 2019. That's much longer than I remember it, actually. And then
because he took over and then they went to the final in 2015.
yeah, he's only been at Argentina a year, 2022 to 23. I thought he was doing a great job.
He beat everyone.
Yeah, he did.
I think
Yeah.
they beat everyone that year. He
in
was
a calendar year.
Yeah, I think the only team he didn't beat was Ireland, and he beat
Right.
every other team.
And that's weird that he's only stayed there for a year. Why would they were going places? That's weird to me. Something fishy's going on.
I don't know if it was.
Or it's just money.
It might have been money. It might have been. There could be a few factors. My idea was that he was kind of gunning for another job at a bigger union. So, and I think now that this Leicester thing has come out of the woodwork and stuff, I feel like this is the master plan of Michael Cheika.
Yeah.
And having Michael Cheika as the England coach is the most fitting coach.
It is, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Just absolute hard-nosed bastard.
Yeah, he's super emotional. Like, he's.
Yeah.
But I think he's a good coach. I think he would do. I think England could use a coach
That's
like
that's a cool.
Michael
That's a
Cheika.
nice fit. That's a nice fit.
Yeah.
England love that siege mentality. Everyone hates us, so fuck you.
Yeah.
That's Michael Cheika as well, isn't it? You know, you hate me, fuck you. We're gonna play some fucking rugby.
Well, let's keep this going. Let's go into these internationals next week. We got England, New Zealand.
I
It
think-
is here. It is finally here.
It is actually. This is gonna be a big weekend of rugby, isn't it? Yeah. I think we just said the thing I really wanted to say about that, which is this is gonna decide Steve Borthwick's future for me. You know, they don't have to even win for him to be considered a good England coach. They just need to play well, right?
Have like 2 close games.
Really close games, and people can say England have a real attacking threat, right? That's the thing for me. England need to show that they can attack. Seen some shoots there. You can't play defensively against New Zealand. Let us not forget, England know how to beat New Zealand on their day, right? If England play as good as they can play, they know they can beat New Zealand. New Zealand are a big unknown right now. Scott Robertson.
His team did look pretty familiar. Scott Robertson's team.
I was surprised by that. You're right. I thought there was a lot more retirements than I realized.
There was like having Satutu not picked was a big drama with him.
Yeah.
But like he's got his core.
He does.
He's got his core boys.
Yeah.
What's his nuts? Fuck, who is the Crusaders 10? He's playing in Japan now.
Mwanga.
Yeah, he's staying in Japan.
Yeah.
So I think they were trying to drag him back. But I think he's got all the tools. They're gonna have a pretty decent team.
Yeah, they are.
So it just depends on. I think this comes down to he's got all the talent
He does.
he needs. It really comes down to him strategizing for Test rugby and how he changes the All Blacks.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's hard to call.
It is hard to
Because
call.
is Scott Robertson the key? Is he is he good enough to prepare a team for Test rugby, or has he been coaching Super Rugby too long and then he gets up there and it's like a completely different ball game?
I think the evidence we have so far is Crusaders' season after he left. It was shit by their standards. They've gone from being the most dominant club team probably in the world in the last sort of 10 years to like an afterthought, and that was immediately after he left. So I would say it's like that in NFL. Is it Tom Brady or Bill Belichick? And it looks like it's Scott Robertson so far. Yeah, I'm really excited for that one because it is a bit of a battle of the coaches, isn't it?
These two coaches have a lot to prove.
They both have a lot to prove, yeah.
Because this is, besides the semifinal, this is Borthwick's biggest test.
It is. They're both men who seem very self-confident as well, right? They're both men who aren't going to buckle after one loss, right? They've both been in the trenches. They know what the game's about. They know how to deal with the media very well. They're not. Neither of them are very emotional people in front of the press, right?
No.
So I think they'll be fine either way. I mean, New Zealand are going to be favourites. I think
it's like because Borthwick beat Ireland this year, which was a big feat.
Yeah.
But beating New Zealand at home,
Yeah, exactly. That's a mountain.
that
isn't it?
is a mountain climb.
Yeah. Always is. So that's what I'm saying. They don't necessarily have to beat New Zealand for people to go Borthwick's all right. You know, they just have to attack well, stay in the game, show some development, and I think Borthwick will stay.
I really have no idea how this game's going to go.
I don't either.
England could, I know they're a powerful, strong team. too.
Yeah.
But New Zealand's a pretty strong team too. They got some big boys. They got some big boys.
I was saying to my dad when I was back home a few weeks ago, right? Like we've said this before as well. The myth that New Zealand have weaknesses is a myth. They don't have a weak scrum, right? They don't have a weak set piece. They are physical as fuck.
Their defense is amazing.
Because they play South Africa so often, who are very physical. There's this myth that they crumble under pressure, but they'll sneak around the side and score a wonder try. No. Every facet of their game is as good as anyone else's, right?
Really, when it comes down to the All Blacks losing, it's because of their discipline.
Yeah.
And
sometimes not taking the 3 points when they're on offer.
Yeah, they refuse to take points because they're scared of kicks.
Yeah.
And their discipline. Otherwise, everything else is probably better than everyone else.
Yeah, genuinely. Yeah, you don't get to be as good as they are.
Their attack is definitely better than everyone else.
Their attack's the best in the world.
Their defense is just as good as everyone else.
Which is surprising when you watch Super Rugby, where defense is just sort of like, oh, maybe we'll defend today. We can't be fucked.
Because no one has the the All Blacks attack is so much higher than everyone else's. They New Zealand will never come into a situation where they have to face themselves, right? They'll never have a situation where they're playing with a team that has as good of an attack as the All Blacks.
So I guess what you're saying is their defense isn't bad. It just looks bad because the attack is that good.
Well, no, their defense is never bad.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, it's made to look bad in Super Rugby because the attacks are so good in Super Rugby. Do you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
The attack's just better than the defense, not that the defense is bad overall.
Yes.
Right.
So they never have to worry about that situation.
No.
Right? But they are hard to score against.
Yeah, they are.
Really hard to score against. And any kind of slip up, they capitalize on.
Oh, I know. It's a
they
nightmare.
do not need the ball to win games.
No.
And so England, to win this game, they have to be fucking perfect.
Yep.
So I would say, the odds are against it. But I don't know, England are a strange team because they can step up whenever.
But they can also step down.
They do. That's the problem with them.
They go missing sometimes, don't they? Yeah, it's weird.
That's the problem with them. They step up and they step down.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And that's a huge problem. The All Blacks never do that.
No.
They're good. The only time they'll lose is because they refuse to take points or their discipline gets the better of them.
Yeah.
And I think that's the best case scenario that England can hope for is that All Blacks play too much on the edge and they have a ref that calls that out.
Yeah.
And then the All Blacks are in trouble. Otherwise, that's a feat.
If I was going sort of percentages, and I would say 70% New Zealand going to win, 30% to England going to win, if that makes any sense. I don't know how betting odds work. So.
I don't know, but those numbers make sense to me.
All right, good. That's what we're saying, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Other games?
Wales, Australia.
Wales, Australia. The fucking bargain bin bonanza.
It is the bargain bin bonanza.
Yeah.
Schmidt's team has got a lot of criticism.
Yeah, he's left some people out, but he's definitely kept some experience in the forwards.
He's picked only people that are staying in Australia. So he hasn't gone to he left Corbett in
Japan.
Japan.
Yeah.
He's one of the best wingers in the world.
Yeah.
So he's
Did he pick Will Skelton?
No,
he didn't.
He didn't pick Will Skelton either.
France, yeah.
So if they're not playing in Australia, he didn't pick him.
Right.
He picked 13 uncapped players in the squad.
Yeah.
But
that's not by choice. It's the same with Wales. It's we haven't got a choice.
Oh no. He had some choice.
Okay.
Yeah, he had choice.
Right.
He's had guys that he didn't pick some players that haven't even fully left yet that he could technically pick.
Yeah.
So he's almost kind of doing it's weird. He's kind of almost doing the same thing Eddie Jones did. Right?
It's less dramatic though, isn't it?
But the response has been completely different.
Right.
So, it's kind of a very similar situation. So, there's a young team. There's a lot of inexperience on this team.
Mm-hmm.
The thing is, though, Schmidt's a good coach.
He is a good coach.
He's got some good coaches.
You'd trust him more than you trust Eddie Jones to do something drastic, wouldn't you?
Mm-hmm. He is kind of a control freak, though.
He is. He micromanages, doesn't he?
He's a micromanager. He's a control freak.
Yeah.
I don't know how that's going to play into the game. Also, when he came onto the All Blacks, All Blacks changed significantly too.
In a good way?
And I think in a good way. Because when he came on, I think he came on after the Ireland series.
Yeah.
And they were just I thought they were a better team afterwards. And I think he got more and more. I think he was just a consultant, and then he became more and more involved with the team.
Yeah.
I don't know. And you got a young Welsh squad coming in.
So I want to say one more thing about Australia, though. Australia have been a bit of a thorn in Wales' side. Not recently, but early days under Gatland. We just couldn't beat them. Like, we lost every game by like 2 points. And what Australia always managed to do, and this is what they do when they beat New Zealand and South Africa. Because, the Rugby Championship will happen. Australia will take a hiding, but they will pull off an impressive victory against New Zealand and South Africa every couple of years, right? And the way they do it is they play very open, loose game with very fast breakdown speed, and the 9 will get the ball out really, really quickly, every single ruck, right? It just allows their backs to just run around people, right? So their game they play well is speed, and Wales historically just couldn't cope with the chaos, right? Joe Schmidt bringing a degree of control into that is either the best thing in the world or the worst thing in the world. I don't know how it's going to play out. We'll see.
Oh, I can't wait.
That's going to be a good one, actually. Now we're building up this narrative, right? For Wales, though, there's so much positivity and goodwill for this team that hasn't won in a long time. We haven't won a game since the last game of rugby Wales won was in the World Cup against, was it Australia?
Mm-hmm.
Might have been Fiji. Anyway, do you know what I mean? That's how long ago Wales have won an international game of rugby, right? And everyone's being very positive because everyone's recognizing, the international rugby community, not just Welsh people, are giving us a lot of grace going, yeah, we see the situation you're in. You lost an entire golden generation in a year or something. Everyone retired. And now we're going to Australia with a significant number of injuries. We're going to Australia with Sam Costello as our starting 10 without a backup.
Oh, I was just going to say that too.
There's no other 10. We've got Jacob Beetham, who has never played 10 before. He's never started at 10 before. Mm-hmm. He's our backup 10. Like, why aren't you taking Jared Evans from Harlequins, right? Taking Dylan Lewis from Harlequins. Why not Jared Evans? Do you know what I mean? And even if you don't like Jared Evans, there's other 10s who can play if you want them to. It's weird. I don't know what Gatland's up to.
I don't know what he's up to too. He's making there could be some actual player stuff too. That we're not privy to.
Yeah.
As a fan of rugby, I would like Wales to win this series.
Why?
Because I'm just a fan of Wales.
Okay.
I like Wales. But for the narrative and story, and for the sake of rugby, I think Australia need to win these two games.
That's just what I was going to say.
They need to win these two games for Australia.
No, they need to win it for World Rugby.
Yeah.
And you know what? Like, I totally agree with you. I thought you were saying it in a different way. Like, as a Welshman, obviously, I want Wales to win. Mm-hmm. Like, I want it so bad. We need a win. I want to see these young kids come good. They need to step up now. Now is the time for this Wales young team to become a winning team, right? They can do it as well. They can do it. They've just got to find that confidence. They've got the talent. On the other hand, if Australia lose 2 games in their own backyard and they've got a Lions test coming up and a World Cup coming up, so bad for World Rugby. So bad for Australian rugby. It could be a death knell for Australian rugby. Can you imagine being an Australian? You're on the fence about joining the league forever or sticking with Union for a bit longer, and you go watch bargain basement Wales show up, beat your team at home twice in a row, and you think, fuck this.
Yeah, they got the Wallabies have the whole country on their shoulders with this.
Yeah.
Like, if Wales lose, like, the fans aren't going to leave.
Yeah.
Right? They're not going to go and just start watching the league.
It's so much more a part of our culture than it is for Australia, right?
And Australia the Wallabies need this win to bring in hype back into Union.
Yeah. Bring
the love of Union back into that country.
Yeah.
Because they've really kind of almost abandoned the game.
Yeah, they almost have.
Yeah, and so there's a lot more pressure, and there's just a lot more riding on the Wallabies winning.
Yeah.
So they need this. They need this win. It's just too bad it has to be Wales that are in front of them.
Yeah.
Like, if it was Ireland going over there, and then Ireland lost those 2 games, that would be huge for Australia.
Yeah.
Right? Or France or something like that.
Yeah,
even
good.
England.
Someone who's won recently.
Yeah. So Wales coming in too, they just it's just. Or even if Ireland or France went over there and beat the Wallabies, you can make the excuses well, okay, they're 2 of the best teams in the world, and Wales are developing, but they looked good in the games.
Yeah.
There's something there.
Yeah.
But if Wales come in being in the shamble game the shamble team that they've been in the last year,
Yeah.
and then they beat the Wallabies, that's gonna fucking put some nails in some coffins.
Right, not just for Australia though, but it's bad news for World Rugby, right?
Yeah,
It's real bad news for World Rugby.
so they need to like these. They have to fucking win these games.
If I was like some kind of puppeteer who wanted the best for the game, and I don't give a shit about national ties, and I can decide these results, I would want Wales to win the first game, shock upset. The Australians like, fuck's sake, we suck. And then Australia win the second game in this dramatic comeback that brings the country together. And they make a movie about it with Matt Damon.
I think even having a competitive series too
Yeah.
is like, I even think that'd probably be a negative. Like, oh, we could barely get by fucking Wales and they suck.
Australia need to hammer Wales in one of those games.
They have to hammer them in one of those games.
Yeah.
Right? Have a close first game,
Yeah.
and then hammer them in the second game. And I think that would be the narrative. That would be one of the best case scenarios.
Yeah.
Like, if they just barely lose, and then the next game they fucking just hammer them.
Yeah.
That would be good moving forward into the rugby championship and bringing some eyes.
I was just gonna talk about the rugby championship, because if Australia lose both of these games, I don't think they will lose both of these games, by the way. But if they did, and then they just get hammered by Australia and New Zealand as well, which is more likely because those are better teams than Wales, like, where do they go from there? Like, you know?
Well, I'm opposite of you. I think Wales are going to probably win both games.
You think? Well, I don't know.
I think they're a more put together team. I think they've been together for longer.
Yeah.
I think the players aren't as bad as we're thinking.
I don't think they're bad players. They just have no confidence.
Australia doesn't have the power game that the Springboks have.
Yeah.
Gatland's got a lot more players back. He's missing.
We have
lacking
one tight head though. You know, one good tight head.
I still think they'll be fine. Like, he's still a good coach. The team's good.
Yeah.
They have a lot of hungry players. I think they're coming in to set an example of the Wallabies, and I think the Schmidt picking like a very like inexperienced team.
Yeah.
Is like he's going to need time with that team to build them into a team.
Yeah.
And I think Wales are going to capitalize that.
Yeah.
Their experience, I think these two teams going in to face each other are very similar, probably in skill set.
I was just reading a stat about the average age and the average caps. They're basically the same.
Yeah.
They're basically the same.
The Welsh squad has played a lot more games together.
But they do have less caps overall, because the difference here for me is the Australian front row. That's Australia have a very a more experienced, I would say, better front row, and it's rare that Australia win games because of their physicality, right? Like I said, they do attack, they use their backs well historically. So if Australia can get dominant at scrums, then it's bad news for Wales.
I think cohesion with the team is going to be the signing
That's
factor.
the winning thing, yeah.
Yeah, that's all I'm going to call it.
Fair enough.
So
We'll
what do you
see.
think? Who do you think is going to win Saturday?
I think one each realistically.
But who do you think is going to win Saturday?
Oh, it's hard.
I think Wales is going to win Saturday.
All right. Yeah, do you know what? I think so too, actually. And I think Australia win the second one once they played a game together.
Okay, so for Wales to finally put the nail and destroy Australian rugby.
Yeah. Oh, I kind of don't want it, but also I do. 'Cause it's yeah.
Ireland,
The
South
big one.
Africa.
Oh, I just love how the South Africans are like, we need to prove we're the best in the world. It's like,
Okay.
no one thinks you're not.
There is South Africans and the shit that's coming out of South
They're
Africa.
losing their minds.
They are fucking losing their fucking minds about this series.
I know.
There's so much mental warfare going on. There's so many I don't know, there's no one taking a series more serious
Yeah.
in the world.
I know.
Like, this is like, they are fucking all over. They are. The media, everyone is losing their goddamn minds. You got Razzie trying to outplay Andy Farrell, picking his team. He's like, oh, I know what you're gonna do.
Misspelling names, being all fake. You know, you just do it on purpose as well.
Like, all these rumors, these fake posts about people saying shit's not real, and all this hate, and
Dale Ende saying they're calling Ireland arrogant. Etzebeth saying they disrespected us. Where do you get this massive chip on your shoulder from?
It's all this series is so important for them.
Yeah,
it's almost
what are they trying to prove?
They want that number. I feel like since they haven't beaten them, they haven't beaten Ireland in like 8 years.
That's the thing. That's the genuine thing.
It's like their chip on their shoulder. It's their like mountain that they haven't been able to climb in almost a decade.
Yeah.
And it's really like, because people are like, oh, we're the best in the world.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, but you haven't beaten Ireland in 8 years. Like you haven't. The last time you beat them was in 2016.
That whilst that is true, I don't think South Africa need to prove this point as much as they think.
No, they
do.
don't. They really don't.
Right.
The only thing that's holding this over their head is themselves.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Because Ireland are a fantastic team, but they still haven't got out of a quarterfinal.
They haven't got out of a quarterfinal.
They don't know how to manage big tournaments. Apparently,
now, I don't like. The World Cup's every 4 years.
Yeah.
Right. So there is like a thing where and you have to have everything go right.
Yeah.
The World Cup,
there's a lot of factors.
things.
There's a lot of luck, obviously, but
it's hard to win a World Cup.
Yeah.
And they managed to do it twice in a row.
Yeah.
They don't really have they've proven themselves to be the best in the world, but you can always
not to themselves. Apparently,
that lingering Ireland over their heads is driving them fucking crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I'm
isn't it?
all for it.
And to be fair, I've slagged off the Irish media a lot. They're not even winding them up that much.
No.
They're just like, yeah, we're going to go and, we've got a strong squad. We're feeling pretty confident. It's hardly the most dramatic thing anyone's ever said.
No.
They're not like going, oh, South Africa are arrogant. They've disrespected us. Like, to be fair to the Irish media, they're just focusing on themselves and their own players. And it's weird that I'm saying that because I'm usually the first to jump down their throat and be like, shut the fuck up, you arrogant fucks.
It's almost, because the South African fans are talking like Ireland already think they won the series.
I've never heard that.
Everyone in Ireland or Irish fans think that
they
there's a
seem
good
kind of
chance.
nervous.
They're kind of nervous.
Yeah.
The Irish provinces had very lackluster season.
Yeah.
They didn't reach any highs that they were going to.
Yeah.
They've already lost some big games.
The Irish national squad, i.e. Leinster, couldn't beat the Bulls at home.
Yeah.
Never mind the entire South African. So they're rightfully respectful and a bit nervous,
Key players not in their best.
Jamison Gibson Park is a massive loss as well.
He's not. He's injured, so he's not coming down.
Yeah.
No Johnny Sexton. There's just there's a lot of factors. Yeah. The Leinster squad not excelling. If they would have hammered that URC in a Champions Cup, there'd probably be a ton more confidence going down there.
Yeah.
It's just.
It's a weird narrative, isn't it? I love it, obviously. I love the drama.
Yeah, but the...
It seems one-sided, as I'm saying.
Yeah, the Box fans are their faces are in the mirror and they're screaming at themselves.
Yeah, you better fucking win this.
You gotta do this.
You gotta fucking win. You prove the world.
You're the best.
Everyone's laughing at us out there.
Yeah.
Nobody's laughing
at you. I would fuck me. Shit like that, right?
Yeah.
They just fucking lose their minds. And it's it's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
But talking about that too, there's a lot. I think right now going into it and everything that's happened, and I 100% the Box have the edge.
Yeah, I think so.
The Box have the edge in this series.
They've just got less injuries as well.
They got less injuries.
They've got a home advantage.
Yeah.
Also, the literal world champions.
Their players, their top players, are still playing in their prime.
Yeah.
We got a lot of top players that look like Tech Furlong, are one of our key anchors in Ireland's setup. He looks.
Him and Porter look a bit knackered, don't they?
They look knackered.
Yeah.
They look slow. They looked, and they're lacking in depth in the front row.
Yeah.
Department. They really got 110 they can count on.
And this annoys me so much because Kieran, I always get his name wrong. Kieran Frawley.
Yep.
Right? He, for me, is the guy who should have been playing a lot more games at 10 for Leinster. And if you'd have given him that time, he's nice. He's a nice backup for Jack Crowley.
Yeah.
Sorry. My brain is not good today.
Crowley. I know. But, it's same with you too. It's they
Jack
have,
Crowley, yeah.
the media said this. Andy Farrell obviously sees something in Kieran Frawley too.
Right.
Because he's put him at 10.
Where Leinster haven't.
Yeah. So he sees something there too.
I like him a
Leinster
lot.
hasn't seen him.
Yeah.
Even Jacques Nienaber hasn't seen something. He hasn't put him there at 10.
Yeah.
So something's
It's usually a defensive thing that we don't see, right? And there's a comparison here because people in Wales are always talking about getting Morgan Morse and Morgan Morris in the Wales squad because for Ospreys, they're incredible back rowers. And everyone's scratching their head, why is this not happening? And the thing is, you don't notice defense as much as you notice attack, right? You just don't. Their defensive stats are simply worse than their equivalents in those other teams. Mm-hmm. And I wonder if it's something similar here. Like if you look at Frawley, is he just a bit not trustworthy in defense? Having said that, he plays fullback reasonably well. So you have to be good at defending there. So I don't know what it is.
There's a couple depths, especially scrum half losing Gibson Park.
That's massive.
Like that's a massive, especially for the whole game, the whole speed of their game too.
Yeah.
The control over the game too.
Yeah.
Like that's huge. That's going to be a huge mountain to climb for them.
Yeah, that might decide it for me, honestly.
It could possibly decide. Like the front row, like if Ireland's front row does not step up, like that can destroy it. And the control and speed of the game that we were missing from Gibson Park.
Yeah.
Because, like, Johnny Sexton's gone, but Gibson Park really stepped up.
He became the new playmaker, didn't he?
Yeah, and he's like the real, like, he sets the pace and the tempo.
Yeah.
And he's really good at reading the game.
Yeah.
His instincts are really well, and he really,
and Ireland do play off 9 a lot.
Yeah, he really filled in a bunch of, like, missing pieces that, like, since Sexton left. So that's going to be huge. On the other hand, I think the Springboks, their issue is I think they have too many options. And I think they have a lot of options right now.
Boo-hoo.
Yeah. And they don't know what the best setup is.
They love playing in that place, though, where they can't quite figure out who's their best. Because every replacement... I always talk about Quagga Smith, right? Guy's a fucking rock star. You could play him at fullback, he'd be amazing. But he never starts, right? He'll come on in the 60th minute, win 19 turnovers, and disappear into the forest for a month. Right, the replacements they have, as much as you're right that it's weird to it's unusual to have a totally settled South African squad. It doesn't matter because their depth, particularly at lock and the back row, is unreal.
I think that their lock situation, I think lock versus lock, I think they're kind of even. I think our lock situation and like we got Tagburn, we got McCarthy, we got James Ryan, like those guys are fucking.
James
class.
Ryan's not the guy he was. But
he's still
very good.
Great.
He's still very good.
Now, Tagburn versus Etzebeth, these players in my mind are fucking equal. They're like Tagburn is like one of the best players in the world.
Tagburn for me, pound for pound, is except for Antoine Dupont, the best rugby player in the world.
Yeah, he's great. So like in the lock department, I don't think there's an advantage either way. I think they both have strengths and weaknesses that kind of even each other out.
Yeah, maybe.
Like they're probably more powerful in South Africa, but the skill set is wider in Ireland.
Yeah, true.
So they kind of like cancel each other out. The front row hookers, I think Ireland are just as good as
Sheehan is probably the best hooker in the world right now, but I would say South Africa's front row is better.
Like Marks is back.
Yeah.
So like I think they're the hooker situation. I think they kind of cancel each other. The prop situation, I think South Africa has got
It's got an edge.
It got an edge.
Yeah.
The loose forwards. Like the Lucies, I think I think they're comparable. I think there's Josh Van der Fleer, like Peter O'Mahony, like
I think Josh Van der Fleer and Peter O'Mahony
Kalen Doris. Like these guys can match up against.
They look a bit lacking in confidence though. Those Irish back.
I don't know.
Forwards.
Kalen Doris can sometimes have some fuck ups in the discipline area. Yeah. But I think the Lucies, I think they're quite.
I disagree there, to be honest. I think South Africa have a distinctive edge.
I don't think so.
All right.
Peter Steph-Toit, he is the best, like one of the best players in the world.
I just don't think I think Van der Fleer, Mahoney,
and Kalen Doris.
Actually, no, I think Kalen Doris has been fine recently, except for a bit of a brain fart in that La Rochelle game. Sorry, not La Rochelle, Toulouse game. But except for that, he's class. I think Van der Fleer's looked a bit off pace, and I think O'Mahony's starting to show his age a bit. You know, and they're both Warriors, class players, but just compared to...
These guys are going to next level for... And remember, they're going under Andy Farrell's coaching.
Yeah.
They're going to be... he's not going to play them if he thinks that they're not
You're right.
top quality.
I don't think it's a lack of quality. I think it's just a lack of confidence right now. That's all.
And I think, I don't know, to me, in my eyes, I think these are very evenly matched. Scrum half department, I think that... I don't think Faf de Klerk... I'll give the edge to... South Africa.
Yeah.
I don't know who their backup is.
I think we're actually, weird to say, Ireland have the edge at 10. South Africa don't really have a settled 10. They've got lots of good 10s.
Who was the guy they played at in Wales? Fuck, I should have brought that up.
Oh, that's a good quiz. Not Andre Pollard, no.
No, it wasn't Andre Porlard.
No, it wasn't,
It was
was
the
it?
Cheetahs guy.
Yeah. That is a good question.
Because he
was good.
Was good.
He was good. He was new as well, wasn't he?
And I was pretty surprised by how good he was. And I was like, man, he doesn't miss a fucking beat like this Razzie guy. He sees potential in places where no one's. It is Jordan Hendricks.
That's right.
Hendricksa, sorry.
Yeah, no, I don't know how you say it. You could be right.
He's good too.
Yeah, he is good.
He was really good.
He was, yeah.
So I think that
I just think Jack Crowley's more experienced.
Jack Crowley, I'd probably give the edge to Ireland on that.
Yeah.
And then in the centers,
they're pretty evenly matched.
They're pretty evenly matched.
They both have fantastic centers.
If they go with Gary Ringrose, Bundyaki, like those two are studs.
Yeah.
If they go with, I don't know, Jesse Creel and Deliende, fucking...
This guy, Andre Esterhuizen as well, right? He was pretty good.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't think I would be worried in either case.
There's the center pairing, I think, is kind of even. Back three, no Hugo Keenan.
Yeah, that's a big deal. That's a huge deal.
Huge loss. I don't know who they're going to have playing at fullback for the Springboks yet. That new guy they have in, that Vandermeer guy, looks pretty fucking good.
Yeah, he does.
So I wonder if he's going to... Because Kobe's injured or something like that, isn't he?
I think so, yeah.
And what's that other kid, the other child they had?
The other child. There was a guy called Afalele Fassi, was it?
I can't remember. He was playing 15 last time.
There is...
Because they're probably going to have...
Ed Will van der Merwe was the new guy, right? The new winger. You're talking about winger, right?
Yeah.
Makazola Mapimpi. He's good.
Because they're gonna go with James Lowe, Calvin Nash.
Yeah.
And then probably fucking I always get these guys mixed up. Like O'Brien.
Yeah, is it James O'Brien?
I think they'll probably put him. Or they might put Kieran Frawley.
I would like that.
At fullback.
I would like that. I think he's good.
I can see that too. So I would give the back three edge to South Africa.
Yeah. Just because of experience, right?
Yeah. Defensively though, I think the Irish backs will be better.
Mm-hmm.
But attack wise, So this is this is gonna be a pretty tight series.
Now you've said that, I get the impression that South Africa have a bigger edge because they've got the home advantage. They're all foaming at the mouth to beat Ireland because of this chip on their shoulder. Those two things are quite a big deal. But I think Jameson Gibson Park not being there is massive because you've got Craig Casey or maybe Conor Murray playing at 9. They are not like-for-like replacements. And I think, as much as Tyke Furlong and Andrew Porter are world-class props, at times the best, they just look a bit tired. And South Africa fucking marmalized Wales in the scrum the other day. They fucking destroyed us.
You also have to remember, too, is that, yes, Ireland have won. They've won these games against South Africa in the last 8 years.
Yeah. But
every time they've played them, they've gotten outmuscled.
Yeah.
And they've still taken away the wins. So the overpowering Ireland is not going to be enough.
But that was when they had Sexton and he could pull the strings from behind a pack that was going back a little bit, slotting every single penalty.
Yeah, that's a good point too.
So I don't know. I think South Africa win both those games.
I think it's going to be... I think South Africa is going to win the first one.
Yeah.
And I think Ireland's going to win the next one.
Yeah. It could equally happen. I'm not saying... I think they would be very close games in both situations, yeah.
And so... But you'll know right away... I think you'll know. And that's how I'm going to say. I'm going to say I think South Africa is going to win the first game, and then I think Ireland will step up and win the second game.
Yeah, I could see that happening as well.
And I don't think these games are going to be beat downs at all.
No.
These are going to be winning by 2 or 3 points both games.
There's far too much quality in both teams for them to get walked over, isn't there? Yeah, definitely.
All right.
Oh, wow.
We have talked about everything we wanted to talk about on the Friends of Rugby podcast this week. And we will be for sure back next weekend.
Yeah, we will.
You don't have anything planned, do you?
No. I'm going to watch rugby with you. We're going to have a sleepover.
Well, peeps, you can find us on YouTube. You can find us on X. You can email us at thefriendsofrugbypod@gmail.com. Please like and subscribe and share the podcast. And Logan, I hope you've listened to this podcast.
Oh, yeah.
This will be the test to see. He said he was going to listen to it.
Oh, he did?
Yeah, so we'll see if he's listened to it. Just gave him a shout out. So, yes. All right. Have a good one, folks.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.